All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for popping on this. This is what I like to call a quick hitter. We're going to talk about how to become a millionaire through real estate investing. Today I'm just going to highlight a couple of different ways we can think about growing wealth in the real estate asset class. I've used, frankly, kind of a combination of some of these elements to create my net worth in real estate. To be quite honest with you, I really believe in these concepts. This is not something that I pretend to have come up with. These are pretty simple, straightforward concepts that I've learned from some other more prolific real estate entrepreneurs than myself. But I think for me, it's always nice when you get kind of some general framework to look at to see if it's in your wheelhouse, if it's something that you think that you might be able to execute as an investor. And so the first idea is going to come from the debt side of the equation. So this is you thinking about being a private lender. And so in this scenario, we're going to start with kind of some pretty conservative components. And certainly you may not be 30 years old, but perhaps maybe you have a little bit more seed money than the 30K that we're starting out with here. So in this concept, we take someone who's 30 years old, they're starting with 30K, and they're going to add $6,000 a year to their investable pile. So that could be through retirement accounts, because certainly in 2022, Roth and traditional contribution limits are maxed at 6K. But this could also just be personal savings as well. The great thing about retirement accounts is that over time, the contribution limits expand. And so this number will actually be much larger if you're able to maximize your contributions. But with this concept, we have a 30-year-old, 30K to start with. They're going to put 6K away in some sort of savings or retirement accounts. That's going to be able to grow as your earning potential grows, et cetera, et cetera. But we're going to assume a very conservative return of lending and getting a net yield each year of 8%. And so certainly for those of you that are hard money or private lenders, you understand that it's very feasible to get 12%, 15%, and usually get a few points as well. And so when I put this 8%, that's kind of an acknowledgement that not all of our money is going to be working all the time. So we're getting kind of a blended yield of 8% on our money. So if we're able to do that for 30 years, so we end this project at 60 years old in this case, then we end up with, as you can see, just a touch over $1 million. Now, of course, if you're starting this project at 40 and using the same metrics, then obviously you're going to end that project 10 years later at 70 years old, which, you know, still puts you at the top of the class in terms of 70-year-old individuals and their net worth. So this is just one concept with private lending. So the next concept is what I call the set it and forget it model. And so in this scenario, we're going to look at a 10-year period of time. And if you were just simply able to buy 2 4-unit buildings, sometimes called quads, and each building is purchased for $500K, then really all you're going to do is let the tenants pay this property off over whatever period of time you need to. So the great thing, and the reason why I use the quads, the 4 units, is that there's a lot of ways that we can acquire a 4-unit building. So if you're of the mindset that you're willing to live in a 4-unit building, the first property my wife and I purchased was a duplex. So we lived in the small side and rented out the larger side. Nowadays, they call that house hacking. But you could buy a 4-unit building and get a 30-year fixed conventional loan. So you're going to get a great loan product. It's fully amortizing. You never have to refinance this. And so you might live in a property for 2, 3, 4 years, and then you keep that property, you rent out the unit that you're living in if you're doing the house hacking, and then you go and do the same thing with another 4-unit building. And so the saying that I heard very early in my real estate investing career was, if you want to be a millionaire, the easiest way to do it is to borrow $1 million. So in this case, if we were to borrow the lion's share of these 500K properties, assuming that they never appreciated in value, you bought the worst properties in the worst neighborhoods and they just stayed stagnant, then of course, whenever those loans are paid off, you're going to have $1 million. Now, history would say that if you're buying these $500,000 4-unit buildings, then in 20 or 30 years, they're likely going to be worth multiple millions each, just based on just typical inflation rates, how that thing works. But again, really conservative analysis, 2 4 unit buildings, get those suckers paid off, and you'll end up being at least a millionaire when it's all said and done. So the last one we're going to talk about is what I call a build it up and strip it down. And so every other year, we're just simply going to purchase one single family house. It could be a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, a 3 bedroom, 1 bath, a 4 bedroom, 2 bath, whatever makes sense for your metropolitan area, the price points, et cetera, et cetera. And if each house is worth 200K, so certainly kind of in most areas, starter type of houses. And at the end of 16 years, you purchased 8 rentals. Because again, every other year, we're purchasing a single family house. And so with these 8 rentals, let's decide after 15, 16 years, we're going to maybe just sell 1 property for the next 3 years. So a total of 3 properties. And we end up with 5 properties that are free and clear. So again, we've amortized the mortgages over these 16 years. We're taking the profit from selling 3 of these properties, and we're paying off the balances on the remaining 5 properties. So this is another way to think about it, the build it up and strip it down. So we're going to buy more properties than what we ultimately want to end up owning, and then we'll sell off a couple and keep the best of the bunch. So maybe there are a few properties that they're a little bit harder to keep good tenants in. Maybe the areas are starting to go in the wrong direction, and so we're going to liquidate. Now, of course, there's a lot of other strategies we can talk about. We can talk about just simply building a really dynamic portfolio that's growing and growing and growing. But I wanted to just highlight a couple of really simple, straightforward concepts if you're getting started in real estate that perhaps you could consider. Because again, my wife's an engineer. I've been told I'm a linear thinker, and I don't think it was meant as a compliment. I'm pretty simple, and I need things to be kind of straightforward and direct for me to follow them. And so I just wanted to outline a couple of those ideas for you today. And I'm sure most of you are far more intelligent than I am, so might have been too simplistic in nature, but just wanted to give you something to chew on there. So we do have quite a bit of content. If you check out our YouTube channel, The Lousy Investor, this is the kind of stuff we talk about, just investing strategies. Sometimes we talk about mistakes I've made, some wins I've had, but definitely feel free to check that out if you haven't already. So The Lousy Investor. So thank you guys all so much. Really appreciate it. If you're looking for a retirement account to invest and to do these real estate deals, we'd also love to help you at American IRA. Feel free to call or email me, Sean, SEAN, at AmericanIRA.com, office number 828-257-4949. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.